Shabbat Shalom, Solel, Erev Tov. Welcome to our Shabbat service this week. You know, there are some weeks when you're really happy Shabbat is here. And I was thinking about that on my way to the synagogue and thinking about a song I used to sing with little ones way back, really even before I went to rabbinic school. I spent a summer teaching music at a JCC day camp. And we would sit together in the afternoon on Friday and welcome Shabbat, and we would sing, Shabbat is here, Shabbat is here. I'm so glad that Shabbat is here. So if you, like me, are happy that Shabbat is here, I invite you to take some time now to just put aside everything that has happened during the past week, to focus yourself in this place and this time right now, to imagine yourself standing at the edge of the field as the sun goes down, or maybe where you are, you can even look out the window of your home and see the sun setting behind the trees. We're going to begin this evening with the words of the poet Chaim Nachman Bialik, page 188. The words of Shabbat HaMalkah. He says, "The sun on the treetops no longer is seen. We gather to welcome Shabbat." But this is a bit more contemporary setting of his words. It begins with the words, Boi HaMalkah, come near, O Queen. Boi Malkah, Boi Akala, Shalom Aleichem, Malchei HaShalom. Boi HaMalkah, Boi Akala, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Elyon. Chacham Merosh, Ha'il Hanot Nistalka, Bo V'netzach Likrat Shabbat HaMalkah. Hine yoredet Hakdosha Brucha, Ve'im Malachim Tzva Shalom Menucha. Boi HaMalkah, Boi Akala, Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem HaShalom. Boi HaMalkah, Boi Akala, Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem HaShalom. Acham Merosh, Ha'il Hanot Nistalka, Bo V'netzach Likrat Shabbat HaMalkah. Hine yoredet Hakdosha B'brucha, V'im Malachim Tzva Shalom Menucha. Boi HaMalkah, Boi Akala, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShalom. Boi HaMalkah, Boi Akala, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShalom. And as the sun goes down behind those treetops, we turn to the words of the bracha for our Shabbat lights. Please join with me on page 21. This Shabbat sheds light upon us, light for the days to come. We have leisure by which to see the world with new and grateful eyes. We have time now to look inward. And now we are free to embrace family and friends to make our lives simpler and more complete. We think of our homes and those we love when we call to mind the duties and affections of home. How greatly are all blessings enriched, all cares and sorrows softened. May the hearts of parents and children always be tuned to one another, that our homes may be sanctuaries of love and devotion. May we use this Shabbat to bring happiness to our family life and blessings to our people. We join together in lighting our Shabbat lights together. The bracha is on page 23.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Shabbat Shalom. Please join me in the words of Yedid Nefesh on page 24. Yedid Nefesh Avarachaman Meshoch Abdecha Eretzoncha Yarutz Abdecha Ishtachavel mul hadarach Yerov lo yedidutecha minov ve'etzuv bechol ta'am Adonai ziv ha'olam nafshi cholet avatecha anahena refana la beharola lo amsivcha az titchazek v'titrafe Please join with me responsively on the following page, page 27. The words Erev Shabbat that come to us from the poet Danny Siegel. Who am I that she should wish to spend the day with me? I try out my strengths, cook, move dust, casually insensitive to all the songs, reminding me that she, the queen in diamond, ruby, emerald glow tiara, would come to grace my table. She comes no matter how the week was spent, in joy or in silliness, yet she comes. And I am her host, laying a linen flower tablecloth that is white, that is all the colors of the rainbow. Come, my Shabbat queen, embodiment of worlds to be, your gracious kindness is our breath of life. And though we once, twice, all too often fail to say, how beautiful your cape, how lovely your hair, your Shekhinah eyes, we will not always be so lax or apathetic to your grace, your presence. Touch us again this week with your most unique love's tenderness, and we shall sing to you our songs and sigh for you our sighs of longing, peace, and hope.
Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat mekabla. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat mekabla. Lecha dodi lecha likrat kala Shabbat mekabla. ישמעו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשמו תפארת ונפילה. לך דודי, לך לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה ומחשבה תחילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, תברך וגיורי, אורי אורי שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלי יחילה. לך דודי, לך לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום עטרת עלה, גם בשמחה וצולל, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום עטרת עלה, גם בשמחה וצולל, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה.
Please be seated. Page 34. How can I sing of day and night when it is God who formed them? How can I sing of heaven and earth when it is God who decreed them? How can I sing of mountains and hills when it is God who planted them? How can I sing of seas and deserts when it is God who begot them? And how can I sing of earth and its fullness when it is God who bade them be? I shall sing to God who fashioned all and is beyond all. It is to God I shall sing. We rise physically or spiritually for the words of Baruch Hu as we come together as a community to pray.
Adonai, Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chochma poteach sharim. Uvitvuna meshane itim umachalif et hazmanim, umsader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Uma'avir yom umevi layla, umavdil ben yom uvein layla. Adonai tzvaot shemo. El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Ahavat olam beit Yisrael. With a great love you have loved your people Israel, O God, giving us Torah and mitzvot.
Ahavat olam beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Ukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadta, Otanu limadta. Aten Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu, Kumenu nasiach b'chukecha, V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, U'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki em chayenu, Ve'orech yameinu, Uvahem negei yom v'layla, negei yom v'layla, Ve'avadcha al tasir, Imenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael, Ohev amo Yisrael.
We praise you, Eternal One, who loves your people Israel. As together we rise for the words of Shman ve'ahavta, listening to the sound of God's voice, hearing the oneness that is present in the world, if only we listen.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, B'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha, ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha ושיננת על בניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת.
All this we hold to be true and certain. The Eternal alone is our God. There is none else, and we are Israel, God's people. Our divine protector delivers us from the hand of human oppressors and saves us from the fist of tyrants. You perform wonders without number, marvels that surpass our understanding. You urge us toward life and revive us when we stumble. You did wonders for us in Egypt, miracles and marvels in the land of Pharaoh. You led your people Israel out forever to serve you in freedom. When your children beheld your power, they praised you and gave you thanks. Freely they accepted your sovereignty. And Moses, Miriam, and Israel sang to you these words with great joy, the words of Micha Mocha, page 44. As you redeemed Israel and saved us from arms stronger than our own, so may you redeem all those who are still oppressed and persecuted. We praise you, Eternal One, Redeemer of Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. God said, "Let there be light." The first light God made before the sun and stars, and God showed it to David, who burst into song. This was the light that Moses saw on Sinai. At the creation, the universe from end to end radiated light, but it was withdrawn. And now it is stored away for the righteous until all the worlds will be in harmony again, and all will be united and whole. But until this future world is established, this light, coming out of darkness and formed by the most secret, is hidden. Light is sown for the righteous. But if this light were to vanish, the world could not exist. Rather, every instance that Torah is studied and lived, God sends a slender ray from that hidden light to bring life to the world. Thus, the act of creation is renewed each and every day. V'shamru, the people of Israel shall keep Shabbat. Page 46. Please join me.
V'shamru b'nei את השבת לדורותם בריב עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת שבת ויהי נפש שבת שבת ויהי נפש שבת שבת ויהי נפש.
Why do we say our God and the God of our ancestors? There are two sorts of believers. One for whom faith has been handed down from our ancestors, and the other has arrived at faith through searching and contemplation. In the first instance, faith cannot be shaken no matter how many objections are raised to it, but there is a flaw in this. Faith is passed on from generation to generation as part of our tradition, and so it may have been learned without thought or reasoning. The advantage of the second is that faith is reached through its own power, through much searching and thinking. But this faith also has a flaw. It is possible to shake it by offering contrary evidence. But the one who combines both kinds of faith is invulnerable. That is why we say our God because of our searching, and the God of our ancestors because of our tradition. We join together on the top of page 49 in the words of the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitgadol v'yitkadosh shmei Rabbah, Amen. Be'amad yivrach yirteh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chai echad u'b'yom echad, u'b'chai edocho ben Yisrael, ba'agala ba'agala, u'b'zman karim, v'imheru, Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olam me'almaya. Yitbarach, Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpar, v'yitrumam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalosh, shmei l'kodesha berichu, le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, t'vush b'chata v'nechemata, damir han be'olam, v'yimeru, Amen.
We rise in body or in spirit for the words of the Amidah, page 50.
Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi agid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'lo evoteinu v'imoteinu. Elohei Avraham, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim v'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayeh HaKol atah Rav Loshia. Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed Mechayeh HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim. Somech Noflim V'Rofeh Cholim U'Matir Hasurim. U'Mkayim Emunato Lishanei Afar. מי כמוך בגבורה, ומידו מלך ממיתון חיי, ומצביח ישוע. ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. Days pass and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like the softness of moonlight, illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see wherever we gaze that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Blessed is the Eternal One, the Holy God. Please join me on page 56. Unless the eye catch fire, God will not be seen. Unless the ear catch fire, God will not be heard. Unless the tongue catch fire, God will not be named. Unless the heart catch fire, God will not be loved. Unless the mind catch fire, God will not be known. Page 59, the words of the Avodah prayer. I saw Jerusalem from Mount Scopus, and she was perfect and whole, little, yet limitless within her borders, contained and yet uncontainable. Eastward, the hills of Judah, wrapped in white and blue, are ministering priests, and silently they meditate blessing and burn the snail shell incense. And on the hills and pits the embers, still whispering, burn as if spice were being perfumed there in the twilight, by the roasting of the sun's coals on censers of shadows. And all Jerusalem was for me like a single coal, kept on the altar, that each nation and guardian might come and brighten it with tongs, and take from it an ember. Baruch atah Adonai HaMachazir Shechinato LeTzion. We praise you, Eternal One, who brings your Shekhinah to Zion. And on this day of Shabbat, we offer thanks, words of Hoda'ah. We gratefully acknowledge, Eternal God, that you are our Creator and our Preserver, the rock of our life and our protecting shield. We give thanks to you for our lives which are in your hands, for our souls which are in your keeping, for your wondrous providence and your continuous goodness which you bestow upon us day by day. Truly your mercies never fail, and your love and kindness never cease. Therefore do we put our trust in you, God our Redeemer and our Helper. Let all who live affirm and praise your name in truth. Eternal God, whose name is goodness, we give you thanks and praise. We turn to the words Shalom Rav, Birkat Shalom, as we pray together these words for peace, asking God to send peace to your people Israel. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Sim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Sim Leolam. Ki Ata Melech Adon, Lechol HaShalom.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. We take a few moments to pray the words of our own hearts. Page 66. May the one who causes peace to reign in the high heavens, let peace descend on us, on all Israel, and all the world. Oh, say shalom, bimromah. Oh, ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol bnei Adam. Oh, say shalom, bimromah. Oh, ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol bnei Adam. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Some of you may have joined me earlier today. I actually already celebrated Shabbat once this afternoon, although it was evening in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. And this month, as part of the World Union for Progressive Judaism's celebration of Reform Judaism around the world, we are having a pulpit exchange with different congregations. So we have been matched with the Liberal Jewish Congregation of Amsterdam. And I had the good fortune this afternoon to participate in their services. It was evening there, afternoon here. If you were with me, I apologize, you're going to hear my sermon again that I gave there, my Dvar Torah, but maybe it'll even be better the second time. And we're looking forward to welcoming their rabbi, Rabbi Menno Tenbrink, in a couple of weeks. He's going to be with us on Shabbat, May 28th. So this week in the Torah, we are reading the final portions of Vayikra, of Leviticus, Parshat Behar and Parshat Bechukotai. And this book of Vayikra is often referred to as Birkat Kohanim, the book of the priests, because so much of the text that is in it is dedicated to the rules, the regulations, the details of the work of the Kohanim, the priests. And many scholars and commentators also consider that the focus of this book is really about Kedusha. It's about holiness, because the laws that pertain to the priests also pertain to how all of us can bring a measure of holiness into all that we do in our daily lives, in our interactions with one another. looking at that, and then considering this last parsha of Vayikra, Bechukotai, it seems very, very different than the rest of the book. First of all, it's divided into two sections. The first section is a series of blessings and curses, and it's considered to really be an epilogue to all of the book of Leviticus. The second section appears to be somewhat of an afterthought if we look at it from a critical eye. It has a lot of supplementary laws about vows and gifts and dues, and perhaps it got stuck in here because they were left out previously. So the parsha opens with the following words: Im bechukotai telecho, if you follow my laws. If you follow my laws and you faithfully observe my commandments, I will grant you rain in their seasons, so the earth will yield its produce. And we're told that the land will be fruitful if we obey God's commandments, and we further learn in the next 8 verses, there will be peace, we will be victorious over our enemies, we will be fertile and multiply, and God's presence will dwell in our midst. Sounds good, but then we turn to the curses. It says, if you do not obey me, if you don't observe all of these commandments, you break my covenant, I will do these things to you. And this section continues with 5 subsections of curses that are parallel to those blessings. The difference, however, is that the curses are described in much, much greater detail. In fact, they take up 3 times as much space as the blessings, 30 verses, compared with the total 11 verses of blessings. This is not the only time that we have a pattern of blessings and curses in Torah. We see it in a short form in the book of Exodus and a longer form in Deuteronomy. So one wonders, why is it necessary to detail both the blessings and the curses several times in Torah, and why now? At the end of this book of Vayikra, Leviticus, this book which is full of Kedusha, of holiness codes, why this need to reiterate this idea of reward and punishment, of blessings and fears? As we well know, especially in this pandemic year, the belief that good deeds are always rewarded and wicked ones are always punished isn't really what seems to happen in our lives or in the lives of others that we know. It seems much more illusory. We have an illusion of more control over our lives in this world than we actually really do have. And you may have asked yourself this year, or in parts of your life prior to this time, or friends may be asking these questions. If good things happen to good people, what does it mean that we're suffering? My Israeli colleague, Rabbi Naama Kelman, has said, of course, we know just how unfair life is. Every day we witness evil and despair. We cry out against our personal and communal injustices. And in this global village that we now partake in, because of the global nature of connectedness, we partake in every crisis, disaster, and never-ending, terrifying images of inhumanity. We also, she notes, witness beauty and great acts of love and compassion and heroism. But in this great pendulum, what are we as individuals supposed to do to make a difference, to forge meaningful lives? So perhaps that is the main message of the blessings and the curses. In the midst of learning all of these rules and all of the sacred rituals, hearing all the words of the holiness code that remind us how to live, we are reminded as well to be grateful for the blessings we encounter, and also to learn how not to fall into despair when challenges confront us. The portion begins with the idea, if you follow my mitzvot, if you faithfully observe my commandments. And if we translate mitzvot simply as commandments, I think that's challenging. The Talmud teaches that the word mitzvah also can be linked with an Aramaic word, tzavta, which means connection. So the English word commandment maybe doesn't really reflect the meaning deeply enough. If we look at mitzvah or tzavta as connection, a mitzvah isn't something simply that God commands us to do.
It's an act that connects us. Mitzvot connect us with God, with our ancestors, those who came before us, with our descendants that will come after us, with the world around us, with the source of life and meaning and mystery that is in the world. So if we keep doing these mitzvot, these acts that connect us, God says, then I will be ever present in your midst, and I will be your God, and you will be my people. And this Torah tells us this is the reward for allowing our lives to be enriched with pathways of mitzvot, of religious practice, of spiritual practice, that remind us of times of kedusha, sacred times and sacred spaces. This is the reward for practicing the mitzvot, which connect us to our deepest selves and out to our community around the world and back through the chain of generations forward to the descendants that we can't even yet imagine. If we do these things, this relationship between us and God stays alive. When we do our best to live lives of value, we open the door for more good possibilities to follow. Because our actions have potential. They have potential to make the world better for others, whether we're aware of our impact or in ways we may never know. When challenges confront us, we might forget that our choices matter. When we allow thoughts and actions to sink down to act into ways that we wouldn't be proud of in our better moments, we betray our potential to become better, and we risk alienating ourselves from notions of communal welfare and collective responsibility that these curses and blessings are all about. Rabbi Larry Kushner tells the story about a time that he brought his nursery school class to the synagogue into the sanctuary for a tour. He pointed out to them the bima, the ner tamid hanging over the top, the cantor and rabbi's lecterns, and finally, the little children stood before the huge doors of the Aron HaKodesh, the Holy Ark. He looked down at them and he said to them, "What do you suppose is in there?" And one child piped up and answered, "Nothing, it's empty." Another one shouted out, "A new car." A third child said, "Must be an old Torah in there." And finally, one child said insistently, I know, it's a mirror." Well, says Rabbi Kushner, if only life could be just as the Torah states. If only a blessed existence, the avoidance of curse, were as simple as making a choice to see what's in the mirror. From the beginning of the Torah, we're told that each of us is created b'tselem Elohim, in the image of God. And we are God's mirror. Our hands are God's hands. In choosing life, we become a blessing. The Torah itself is a mirror. As we read it each year, it remains the same, but we change, and the Torah helps us note those changes and grow. The challenge of this parsha is what to do when we look into the mirror of Torah and we see an image of dissonance. The world in which we live does not yet resemble the world that we want to live in. So what we see in our own eyes when we look into the mirror are the reflections of the blessings bestowed on us as human beings created b'tselem Elohim. The choices that we make are to turn the mirror around and to fill the earth with blessings. So as we choose life, may the reward of blessing be in living blessed lives. Shabbat Shalom. On this Shabbat, we think of those in our families and our communities who are in need of healing, both healing of body and healing of spirit. And we turn to the bracha for Mishaberach on page 133. This Shabbat, we are praying for the following members of our community: Shirley Herman, Esther Wuchenmark, Shoshana Burr, Gunter Thompson, Rick Valentine, Simon Green, Yvonne Dixon, Marlene Friedman, Linda Levenheck, Jack Kudlatz, Francis Van Tyne, Suzanne Scher-Stimson, Mordechai Sangelovici, Michal Suriel, Bernie McLennan, Harriet Lachman, Jill Rich, Ellen Becker, Ilana Miriam Badchava, Nicola Proetti, Lois Dean, Eliyahu Ben Yitzchak Vasara, Phil Berkowitz, Liz Travis, Rebecca Bodble, Parker Keiko, Tzvi Tsur, Misha Van Tyne, Philip Shepard, and Marilyn Block. And if there are others whom you are praying for healing for on this Shabbat, I invite you to hold their names in your heart or to speak their names aloud as we pray these words together. Mi shebeirach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, oh bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi shebeirach imotenu mekor habracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Before we turn to the words of Aleinu, we continue with the counting of the Omer for these weeks, leading us from Pesach to Shavuot. This week is the 6th week of the Omer. It is the week of Yesod, or foundation. So as we approach Sinai, which we will celebrate on the holiday of Shavuot, we might ask ourselves, what is most fundamental to who I am? The Hasidic masters taught that each of us has come into the world to do what only he or she is able to do. What is our special task, our Yesod? Yesod also represents the connection between the heavenly and the earthly realms. And we might ask ourselves, how might my life reflect God's presence in the world? How might I be a vessel for bringing the world around me closer to the divine? With those thoughts, we say, Hineni muchanu mizuman l'kayem mitzvat haseh shel sfirat ha'omer. Behold, I am ready and prepared to perform the mitzvah of counting the Omer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav etzivanu al sfirat ha'omer. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, who makes us holy with your mitzvot, commanding us to count the Omer. Hayom echad va'arba'im yom shehem chamisha shavuot v'shisha yamim la'omer. Today is the 41st day, making 5 weeks and 6 days of the Omer. We turn now to the words of the Aleinu, page 149, as we rise in body or in spirit, to praise God and to pray for the day when the world will be one and at peace.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, אשר שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגור עלינו להמליך מלכותו, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו, וגובה מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אלוהינו, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת ושבעת אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא אלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחתיו. אחד אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. Page 154. When cherished ties are broken and the chain of love is shattered, only trust and the strength of faith can lighten the heaviness of the heart. At times, the pain of separation seems more than we can bear. But if we dwell too long on our loss, we embitter our hearts and harm ourselves and those about us. The psalmist said that in his affliction he learned the law of God, and in truth, grief is a great teacher when it sends us back to serve and bless the living. We learn how to counsel and comfort those who, like ourselves, are bowed with sorrow. We learn when to keep silence in their presence and when a word will assure them of our love and our concern. And so even when they are gone, the departed are still with us, moving us to live just as they themselves in their higher moments wish to live. We remember them now. They live in our hearts. They are an abiding blessing. At this time, we remember the following, whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of whose death, occurs this week. Frida Haller, the mother-in-law of Leah, the mother of the late Willie, and the grandmother of Aviv, Ron Phillips, Vivian, and Matthew. Royston Weber, the father of Jocelyn, and the grandfather of David, Matthew, and Sarah. David Feldman, the father of Lori, and the grandfather of Michelle, Jessica, and Ryan. Mo Nemiroff, the uncle of Roz Weisberg. Bertha Mendelson, the mother of Harriet Kornbluth and Jerry Mendelson, the mother-in-law of the late David, and the grandmother of Charles, Stephen, and Benjamin. Louis and Johanna DeLue, the grandparents of Joanna Pagrak and Eva Romberg, and the great-grandparents of Ashley Romberg. Lillian Cohen, the aunt of Barry Feynman, and Rabbi Sissy Koran, my friend. If there are others whom you are saying Kaddish for on this Shabbat, I invite you to share their name aloud or to hold their name in your heart as we invite those who are mourning to please rise first. We say to Min Hamakom Tinachamu, may you find comfort in God's sheltering presence. Now we all rise to support those who are mourning and to say Kaddish for those who have no one to say it for them. As we join together in these words, hallowed by the generations, the words of the Kaddish prayer on page 159. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ve'alma divrach hirtei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agalau v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevarach le'alam ulal me'al maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yit hadar v'yit aleh v'yit halal shmei dekudesha barichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran ve'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol b'nei adam v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved among us, among all the Jewish people, and among all the nations and families of earth. And let us say together, Amen. Please be seated. I want to share some announcements on behalf of our board and our congregation. First of all, we wish you a Shabbat Shalom. We're so glad that we are together on this live stream sharing Shabbat. We hope you'll continue to join us for our upcoming services. Speaking of which, tomorrow morning, the 8th of May at 10 a.m., is our morning Shabbat service. We will be celebrating the bar mitzvah of Adam Friedman. We wish Mazel Tov to Adam and to his family. Next Friday, the 14th at 7:30 p.m. is our family Kabbalat Shabbat service, followed at 8 o'clock by our regular Erev Shabbat service. And Saturday the 15th at 10 a.m. is our Shabbat morning service. All of those can be found right here where you're joining us on our live stream. Upcoming events. We have lots of upcoming events and exciting things going on throughout the month of May. First of all, in our run-up to Shavuot, thinking about Torah, this Sunday at 11:30 a.m., Beit Sefer Solel has a great opportunity for meeting our Soferet, our scribe, Rabbi Yona Lever Yisraeli. She's going to be speaking to our classes on Zoom and talking about how a Torah scroll is written and answering questions, and it'll be a great opportunity to learn a little bit more about what it takes to write a Torah. So we look forward to welcoming all of our parents and students on Sunday. For the rest of our adults, on Tuesday the 11th at 11:30, we have a lunch and learn with our Soferet, and she'll be sharing with us some of the intricacies and the process of writing a Torah scroll. So we're looking forward to that as well. We invite you to join us in being a part of writing Solel's new Torah scroll. As part of our upcoming 50th anniversary celebrations, we're embarking on this project to create our own first brand new scroll. And you can be part of it. You can sponsor a letter, a word, a phrase, a verse, a parsha, and more. More information about that is on our website. Wednesday, the 12th of May at 11:30 a.m., Women of Solel invite you to celebrate Rosh Chodesh. Yes, a new month is coming, the month of Sivan. And we invite you to join us for that at 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday, the 12th. All of this taking place on Zoom. There are Zoom buttons in your shamas this week as well. If you need the Zoom link, please contact the office. Sunday the 16th from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. is our Standing at Sinai Tikkun Leil Shavuot program across Canada. Join Solel and Reformed congregations across Canada for a program of learning and music presented by the Reformed Jewish Community of Canada, rabbis and cantors. It'll be a wonderful opportunity to learn and to taste Torah at Sinai. The program goes, as I said, from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. You can join us for all of it or some of it if you don't like to stay up that late, or perhaps you have something to do earlier and you want to stay into the wee hours of the morning. There is Zoom information as well. And then Monday the 17th of May at 10 a.m. is our Shavuot service. So join us as we mark the end of counting the Omer and celebrate receiving Torah at Sinai. Finally, the 28th of May, Friday, at 8 p.m., as I mentioned, we'll be joined by our special guest, Rabbi Menno Tenbrink of the Liberal Jewish Congregation of Amsterdam, and he'll be speaking to us as a great opportunity to learn more about his community and his congregation. So we hope that you'll join us for some or all of these events. More information can be found on our website, our social media, or by connecting to the office. As we close our service this evening, I invite you to join me in the words of Kiddush on page 163. Let's all raise a glass for L'chaim.
Vayhi Erev, Vayhi Voker, Yom HaShishi. Now the whole universe, sky, earth, and all their array was completed. With the seventh day, God had ended the work of creation and rested with all the work completed. Then God blessed the seventh day and called it holy, for with this day God had completed the work of creation. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'vratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit. Ki hu yom tehillah l'mikra'e kodesh, zecher l'tziad mitzrayim. Ki vanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'vratzon, hinchaltanu, baruch atah Adonai mekadesh, HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim. We wish you a Shabbat Shalom u'mevarach, a day of peace, of joy, of blessing. Please continue to stay home, stay safe, and stay healthy. Go out there only to go out for necessities and to get your vaccine. And we wish you Shabbat of peace. Shabbat Shalom.